So, folks, we're here with Christopher White. I'm Jamie from the Filmmaker Society. Chris, you're very welcome. Thanks for sitting with us today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Now, what I'd like to start with today is just telling us a little bit about your film, Coulrophobia. Now, am I pronouncing that correctly? And me and the team were thinking, it's like fear of clowns, right? Is that how you pronounce
That
it? Coulrophobia?
that that is correct. It is coulrophobia. It is about the fear of clowns. Yes, that is true. It's an interesting concept, but more importantly, it is about the fear as a concept and how it manifests and how we face it, right? So I think for me, clowns have a strange power. They're meant to bring joy, but they're always something like a little off, which makes it kind of like a perfect metaphor for like hidden fears, right? So the story of the movie that I have, it blends psychological and supernatural horror films while weaving themes of identity, mask, and unsettling lines between comfort and terror. So it started out an idea before I've been playing around with for a very long time. And then when the 48-hour film festival gave me an opportunity to focus on it, it was a chance to bring something to life. And I picked a genre, clowns, which kind of makes sense. So it's pretty cool.
That's cool, man. Wow. Clowns have
Yeah.
always been terrifying. Like, I mean, it's such a good
Yeah.
idea for a movie. I watched your trailer earlier on.
Yeah.
I gotta say, it's scary stuff, even for the trailer. Like, I saw at the end sort of a bit of body horror going around where I think it's a clown and she was like twisting around her body and stuff like that. I was like, oh, yeah, like that was just creepy right away, which is good. It's what you want to see in a horror film. Are you a horror fan yourself? Have you always?
No, I've loved horror film. I think I've had this strange relationship, and I'll be honest with you. The first movie that I saw was actually Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and I remember sitting there and watching and having this weird kind of this, like, wow, this is scary, but it's kind of cool. But then and then obviously, younger, watching more stuff, and then growing up, and then having this weird affinity with like Michael Myers and horror films. And I always said to myself, would I always do a horror film? And I had this idea a long time ago about clowns, and it's a part of a larger deal, which I'm trying to do, like a terrorverse for Coulrophobia, the Fear of Clowns film, which I'll get into later on. But I think, you said a couple of things. Horror is crazy. And the creepy thing about it is I actually used, I believe, Emma, she's going to be mad if I get her name wrong. It's Emerald Gordon Wolf. And she's actually been in the movie, I'm not sure if that's me. Let me turn my mouse out. But her name is Emerald Gordon Wolf, and she's actually been in The Conjuring and also a couple
No
of horror films.
way. Wow.
She's a contortionist. So when I actually asked her on Instagram, I said, "Hey, she lives in San Diego, where I live, and currently she just agreed to it. She's one of the nicest individuals, and she's a contortionist. Like I say, she's been in The Conjuring, and she's the person at the table that bends back. So when
You're
she agreed to
messing.
do it, it was exciting to see her. So I haven't revealed it to a lot of people
I
yet.
know
And
exactly
as
what you're
this,
talking about as
yeah,
well. The Conjuring is so cool, man. Wow.
exactly
That's in
right. So
your
I got a
movie.
chance.
Wow. It's
That's
great
in
to
my
have
movie,
them.
right? So she
Badass,
agreed to
man.
it,
That's
and I'm
so
excited
cool.
because she's a great person. She's in New York right now, and I put her in the film, and like I say, it's just an opportunity to work with great people. And she's such a sweet person, very nice. Her family's very nice, and like I say, I just asked, and I got a chance to work with her, and also another individual who actually was releasing. Her name is Daria Nova of Nova Music, and she's a professional scorer. And I just Instagrammed them and asked them, "Hey, would you mind, scoring my film?" Yeah, no problem, right? So I think that's one of the processes of collaboration in film I love. So getting the opportunity to
Yeah.
work with
You know
them
what?
was
Like,
was
sorry to cut
awesome.
you off,
No, no,
Jamie.
no, no worries.
Scoring, how important is a
Yes.
movie? Like I feel like myself being such a fan of just general cinema, I feel like some people don't realize how important it is. It can make
Oh
or
man.
break a movie. Tell me a bit about the score of your film. Any inspirations? Are you going like proper, like sort of strings, Conjuring, Insidious type thing, or maybe more on a keyboard? What's going on?
Honestly, I have a mixture of both. I have some sad elements. I have some brasses, some strings, and I honestly let Nova Daria do her thing. I told her, here's some of my Hans Zimmer, obviously, Ludwig Göransson, obviously, John Williams. I said, this is what these are my inspirations. However, I gave her full control and I told her, this is what I like. I wanted that violin. So in my trailer, that actually is not done by her. That's actually done by another guy named Scott Buckley. I believe he is an Irish gentleman, and he actually I used him in my last trailer, and he's a what do you call those copyright alliance, Creative Commons people, and his trailer, his music is so like impactful. I used it in my trailer, which makes it those violins and those brasses and things like that's what makes it drive, and then I have some of those elements in my film too. I haven't really released it to anyone yet. We can't release it until after December 8th. But like I say, the score is just something that's elements. We got the creepiness of the. I don't know if you remember the movie The Ring when the girl's doing like
Oh
the.
yeah, yeah, of course.
I have that in there. I have some
Nice.
jump scares in there. So I have a
Yeah.
few things
Dude,
that
I
I'm
can't wait
excited
to
to
see
share with the
this
world.
film now.
Yeah.
This sounds like a film
Yes.
I'd like. It does.
Yeah.
I
It's a
love
nice
horror
little short.
movies.
Yeah.
It's just score, man, score. I
Yeah.
have a question about the 48-hour film festival.
Yeah.
Known for its intense time constraints, how did you
Yeah.
approach the challenge of creating this movie in such a short window?
Honestly, it's all about preparation and collaboration. I think I did one of those before in August. So this is actually, I did two of them. Actually, I did the first one in August 2nd, and that was another one I have called Echoes of Vengeance. So that one is where the one where you try to prepare as much as you have. You try to find locations, and a part of the contest is try to take your time and find locations and get the right permits. And then you can't really write anything until you actually get the genre pool. So there's so many genres that we had at the time. I'm thinking of this idea. I'm thinking of this idea, and then when you go draw it, it's time to write. But I think the key thing is just like any filmmakers, it's just preparation, collaboration, getting. I would say passionate people who are excited about film. One of the requirements is that you can't pay anyone. So you have to basically deal with a lot of people who are like, you know what, hey, is this a paid gig or this not a paid gig? However, one thing about San Diego, which I didn't know, there's a lot of people who want to act and a lot of people who want to do it, but also there's the downside to it because, on the day of when you get, hey, it's time to go, some people can't make it and things like that. But I think the best thing is in that 48-hour window, you don't have time to overthink it. You have to trust your team, your instincts, your vision. And the process taught me about the power of adaptability and how constraints can push creativity to new heights, right? And it was also a reminder that no project is too small to put your heart into, and the connections that I made along with my team, and it was just as much as important as the work itself. So, and I did the same thing with this particular project as well. I went in with an idea, went in with things, and then the funny thing is, like I told you, I had a clown idea for the longest time, and I thought I was going to get a musical. I was actually preparing myself to do a musical. I actually kind of wanted to do the musical. Um, but however, I think the 48, anyone who does it, it takes rigorous preparation. It's filmmaking on steroids, but I love it. And I love the challenge, and I love to share that with passionate individuals. We have a lot of young people who want to shoot. We have a lot of people who are pioneers, a lot of people who've been in the industry for a while. We have people who are SAG actors. I mean, the whole process is working with like-minded collaborational people who just wants to create good films, and that's pretty much it.
That's great, man. Like me,
Yeah.
myself, if I was working on something, I find sometimes the best ideas, they do come when you're under that bit of stress, It's sort of
Yeah.
uh, not quite baptism by fire, but you're learning as you're
Yeah.
doing stuff like that. Was that the case for you guys? As in, because you were under such a time crunch that, say, perhaps some of the best ideas came just from that time constraint?
Yeah, I would say so because usually the process is they say you don't really shoot the first night. However, we did, I think, and it's something so simple as, getting people on talent. Like I believe like Emma, she had to work that day. So I actually said, hey, you working this day? Cool. When you're done, come over. Like we got the script, we wrote it and got it done. And then make a long story short, it was just, we didn't have batteries. Someone said, oh, I
Oh
thought I
no,
charged the batteries. And then another
that's
person
not good.
said, oh, I can't make it. My car had problems, right? So this is like that. My first one that I did, actually, all my actresses canceled. And then luckily by my DP, American Edge Films, great gentleman, Jerry Saucedo, he had a friend and we called them up and they came and saved our film Echoes of Vengeance, right? But for this particular film, what I did was I had an abundance of people, and the hardest part was like, "Hey, are you available?" And writing a role from them when we get our prompt, and writing this, and adding characters and changing the story. So I would say it's a very stressful, vigorous, and making sure we have cameras and making sure we get the right sound, the room tone. And I shot in my house for this one, and then it's basically like the neighbors. Hey, I have a girl who's screaming, and the neighbors think we're gonna do something. You know what I mean? So, and we have a Emma who's doing these contortionist stunts, and then everyone's like, "What is going on?" This girl is breaking up. So dealing with the ambiguity of not knowing what's going on, but that's also the exciting part of filmmaking. Like anything, no matter if you prep. And no matter how long you're doing the 48 hour film challenge, like I said, doing two in 2 months, people are like, "You're crazy, man." I'm like, "I am crazy.
Yeah.
I love filmmaking. I love the creative process. I seek to do more as we, as I go along. But as I'm doing it more, I'm learning as we go. So it's pretty cool, man. You're right.
Oh, man, you're
It's
just cool, man. It's
baptism of the
even
fire.
great that
Yeah.
you're taking on the challenge, you know, like I mean,
Yes.
someone told me you got to make a full production in 48 hours. As
Yeah.
you said, I'll be like, crazy, man. That's some
And the
crazy stuff.
quality, and honestly, the
Yeah.
quality. Like, I mean, we
I was
shot on a
about to
Sony.
ask,
Yeah.
like, how does it
Yeah.
look? You know, the trailer looks
it
fantastic.
Yeah, it looks phenomenal. I mean, we shot on a Sony Burano, some FX 6 and then FX 9. And honestly, I think for me as the editor, I think I have such a high drive for quality
Mm.
and sound, and trying to make sure that we get the best quality, especially to the name BigBoy Productions. I tell everyone,
Yeah.
that's my company I've had for a while. And I think for me, I don't want to be known as just a filmmaker who just shooting things. I want people to know me for quality, for storytelling, for team collaboration. That he's not only a director, a producer, a writer. He's a fun person to work with, and everyone would tell you, like, make sure my crew gets a meal, make sure everyone's happy, make sure everyone's comfortable, but at the same time putting on a production, right? So
So what you're
I
saying
think,
is, man, you're
yeah,
busy. You are
yeah.
busy.
Oh
So
man,
you're
it's
shooting this
you know,
thing, you're editing this thing, you're cooking
yeah,
food for
yes,
these guys.
yeah,
What, like, oh my God, man, how are you doing this?
yeah.
How
Honestly, I
exciting
feel
is you've been in the film industry and photography industry for a while now. Can you tell us
yeah.
about your journey into, say, filmmaking, into photography? Where did you start? How did you get to the point you're at now where you're able to lead a production for something like, say, Coulrophobia?
Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I've started a while ago. I'm an older than I look. I don't want to tell my age, but you can probably figure it out. But
I'm in
I
my
think,
late 60s, so don't worry about it.
oh no, I think when I was in college, I went to Grossmont Community College, and what I did was I had a passion for filmmaking in school. I've always done. My first introduction to film was watching The Matrix. When I saw The Matrix, I was like, I have to do this. So I went to school and I graduated with a film degree. But before that, I had an opportunity to, I believe it was an internship to the Academy of Arts, and I got nominated for it. And then I applied. And honestly, I don't want to say this, but I have to say one of the things about, and I don't want to say that being a Black filmmaker is something that was a struggle for me, and it's still a struggle for anyone. I think being a filmmaker is a struggle, but however, I don't want to denounce that, being a Black gentleman and filming myself and not being accepted in the past, and denied, and my talent was there. It's always been there. I kind of let that get to me a long time ago, and then I kind of like stopped when I got denied from it. I didn't understand it, and people say, "Well, you're a sore loser" and all the things like that. But no, it wasn't that. There were certain things that would happen to me in the past that you can blatantly tell. But you know what? What the thing about me, I'm very resilient, right? So if I can't find this way, I will move over and go to the next way. And I've done 48s before a long time ago. It was called Best Fest years ago when I was in college. And I did that. And actually, my DP on this film, Coulrophobia, was actually a gentleman we competed together. But he would always get first and I would get second. But then, years later, almost 20 years later, it shows how old I am. We actually connected again and created some work. And I think people are showing like, wow, you're still doing film. But to your point, it's just like I dabbed into photography almost like 2 3 years ago because I was trying to find my place in the world. And, I was getting denied for contests, but then I'll apply for something and get, selected here. I'll do something and someone say, oh, we don't have this. And I can say no matter what adversities I faced, discrimination or whatever the fact doesn't matter. I'm very resilient in what I do. I don't want to be
Mm,
known as like a Black filmmaker. I want to be known as a filmmaker, right? And however, I
sure.
happen to be of African American descent, but that I don't want that to be people. Oh, it's a Black man who's leading a crew of this. I don't want that. I want to be a filmmaker who's leading a crew of this. And a lot of people are saying, "Wow, you did a great job." And even working with the people who've done this, they said, "You know what? I have never experienced someone who's as focused and as passionate as you." And I've seen your struggle. And people said, "I've seen you, and you're still doing it." I'm like, "Yeah," because I think one of the biggest things for me, whether my photography, content creation, stereotypes like, oh, you shoot models, you shoot this. Honestly, I just like to create beautiful things with beautiful people, right? And and trying to put my brand on it is the hardest part. And like just recently, I don't know if you know about contests. Monkey Paw just did a contest called No Drama, and actually wrote a specific film from them. I wrote all this stuff, and I didn't get picked. But you know what? That's fine.
Do you have any exciting projects after Coulrophobia you want to get into, or is this something you put all your concentration on at the moment? Or are you the type of creative where you have so many ideas? Like you mentioned earlier on, you had the idea of, say, a clown for a long
Yeah.
time. So do you have any other projects after this that even if you haven't started them, that you want to get started in?
Absolutely. Yeah. This, I'll be honest with you, this 48 was actually a way for me to start this project. And what I'm going to create is Coulrophobia is a terror universe, a terror. I'll call it a terrorverse. So if you hear this from anybody else, it's mine. But
I
I
heard
don't want
that
anybody
earlier
taking
on.
the hit.
Terrorverse.
Yeah.
I like the
Yeah.
sound of this.
So
It's
so I'm
scary, man.
creating, yes, I'm creating a
Franchise.
terrorverse. Yeah, I'm trying to franchise the story of Coulrophobia, and there's these two films inside each other are one of them. And I'm aiming on doing the first, maybe a longer short, but a feature of next year. I
Mm.
want to take my time on this one. I want to get a budget. I want to get a crew, and it has to do with, and I'll tell you about it. It's actually called The Protector. It's what I pitched to Monkey Paw, and I started working on it for Monkey Paw, but I didn't get accepted. But as I started creating it, I realized I can get this done without the no drama money. So what I'm going to try to do is kind of get this going up for 2025. I plan to shoot it in June. I just want to make sure I get a good budget. It's another horror film about the lucha libre clown. I don't want to get too much into it, but it's actually going to be something with the clown again. So the theme is a clown family, and it has. I like to do movies that are. They have more than just a scary theme. They have, family struggle. They have heart. They have story in it. So that's what I'm focusing on, and I'm going to put a lot of my effort into that. And then amongst just creating content and continuing to work with other people, small content, larger content. But I think my best goal for next year is to continue my terrorverse of Coulrophobia and
Mm.
create my first short feature or larger feature film, which is going to be my goal. The terrorverse of
Yeah.
Coulrophobia.
And we're gonna be friends, okay? I've been saying
Yeah,
this for
I
years.
hope so.
Yeah, of course, man. There's always a big issue with horror movies and watching these days. There's no heart in the horror
Yeah,
movie. They have a
yeah,
horrible ending. Everybody dies. The ghost actually wins.
yeah,
All these things. The best horror movies, in my opinion, are the ones that have that heart at the end. Something like The
yeah,
Conjuring at the end, where
yeah,
Lorraine Warren are coming out and they actually they stop the evil. It's like
right,
all of this evil exists, but
right.
deep we can stop all that scary stuff in the world. So, man, I mean, this is exciting stuff. Terrorverse. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to this. So, do you have any mentors or influential figures in your life growing up that inspired any of your movies or anything you do
I,
creatively, whether it be photography or
honestly, people who are just resilient and creative. I love all types of, I think growing up in a military background has forced me to really see people for more than just
yeah,
they are. I think my dad, we went to Guam, Hawaii, all these places. And that's why I think my background of seeing people in different areas and learning from all kind of cultures, like for example, all the films I do, I want to have an element of culture. So, I think, my inspiration is, obviously Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg, the greats and even like classical music. I listen to a lot of classical music. And people say like, you listen to classical music, but also listen to Tupac, also listen to Biggie Smalls, but also listen to classical music, also listen to rock, and
yeah,
anything that it evokes emotion. And like I say, like Interstellar, like Hans Zimmer soundtrack, Dune recently, the director, all anything that's creative that evokes emotion and storytelling is what I get inspired for. If it gets me to cry, and I put this in my Monkey Paw no drama video, like the Ninja Turtles, that scene of them at the fire and they're crying when Master Splinter is gone and they're bonding right there. That's emotion. That's true emotion.
it
And the
is, man.
soundtrack, the brothers, the bonding, that right there inspired me to this day to realize I want to, when I do a film and somebody's crying, I want them to feel that. I still feel this years later, Home Alone, still later. It's a classic because it has a reason of invoking emotion. So any creative that can evoke emotion, but also anybody who's resilient towards any kind of discrimination, hate, or race, and just wants to create good work, right? And like Denzel Washington, he's always been one of my idols. And then you think about like what he's done all kinds of genres, right? And you see him as Denzel, he's a great person. You don't see color, you don't see it. Just happens to be a great actor, right? And in the director, same thing with Steven Spielberg, same thing with Christopher Nolan, same thing with Hans Zimmer. They're making great scores, they just inspire you. So, and any of those figures like that inspired me to do my very best work. And I'm not better than anyone. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I'm always going to grow. So even when people are looking up to me and saying, "Hey, can I come on your set and learn from you?" I'm like, "Yes." You're like, "You want to learn from me?" And I'm like, "Wow, I feel like I'm still learning in the journey." Right. So I think that's one of the things that with filmmaking, no matter what, I've heard even Christopher Nolan say something. He says, no matter what, he's still shooting every day. He's still writing. He still doesn't feel like he's doing his best work. And that's where I think I want to be. I want to get to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm still doing my next project. I want to be better at this. I want to work with great people like this. And Marvel, hopefully I can get, I wanted to shoot Blade. I was like, look, give me a chance to shoot Blade. I have a great idea for Blade,
Man,
but
yes.
let me shoot.
You could make a
But
good
who knows?
Blade. If you put heart into
Oh
Blade, come on, you could do it. I mean,
man,
what's
I
going
can
on
do
with
it.
Blade? I haven't heard
I
any
don't know.
news about it. Was
I've heard news. I just know that they're just putting them like, guys, I have a great idea. Let's shoot a
you
great
inspire
vampire
me,
film.
man. You should
You
make
know,
these
so
movies. They should hire
for
you,
real.
okay?
I hope so.
How
Telling
do you
me.
stay motivated to innovate in an industry that is constantly evolving? You know, I mean, in terms of Hollywood, for the past 10 years, it's just been, as we talked about, say, a few minutes ago, it's all Marvel, you know, it's
Yeah.
superheroes like that. How do you stay motivated to work in that when it's constantly changing? Even with something like horror, there's so many horror movies. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's just adaptability, right? It's called dealing with ambiguity in the industry, right? But I would say when you see so many things like, oh, that's a typical trope, that's a typical idea. However, the beauty of that is that you can take that and twist it into yours. And I think what I did for this particular film is the same thing. I took a little bit of this, I took a little of that, took a little bit of inspiration, take a little bit of superhero, but also combined it where it's hidden, but however it matches it. So when you're watching it, you're saying, wow, this is cool, but it actually possesses some of the elements. So I think always staying consistent and staying creative, but also I think staying humble. I think, and if you think that like, oh man, no one's gonna like my movie because it doesn't look like a Marvel movie. No one's gonna like this because of this. But if you try authentic to yourself, it'll come across and people will resonate towards it. And if they don't, that's okay because you can't please everyone, right? So I think staying motivated is hard, but I think if you stay true to what your purpose is and have a clear vision going in, then you'll be successful because the outcome is what you want. And if it isn't what you want, the good thing is like, okay, I learned from this process. I know in my next process I'm gonna do this, right? And we all know this, right? So I think that's the beauty of art. Just creating art in general is that there's gonna be failures, there's gonna be wins, there's gonna be successes. You have to take a little bit of everything and move on from there, right? And I think that's something I've always done. You take your failures, you take your wins, you see what worked. If it doesn't work, you go the next route, right? So I think, we all know what's not working in Marvel movies now, right? So
Yeah.
that's why I said I have an idea. Put some human to it. Put some realism in it. Don't just put the special effects in it. That's just to help it. Put some story. Put some heart in it. Like Endgame was phenomenal because it had heart,
Yeah.
right? And then now you're like, oh man. And I'm like, when that
What's going
Endgame part,
on?
like
You know,
when he says
there's a
on your
new
left,
thing all the time, and it's every
exactly.
character is
Yeah,
exactly the same.
exactly.
Every a bad CGI. It's just there's
Yeah,
nothing with
yeah,
any gravitas or anything, and
yeah,
there's nothing worth
yeah.
watching these days. It's a
Right.
great way to looking at it in terms of staying motivated in such an industry
Yeah.
that's always evolving and stuff like that. Do you have general advice to anybody who say tomorrow they're like, I want to be a director, I want to be a filmmaker? Do you have any advice for those people?
Just start shooting, just start creating. You're directing your own life. So I think with technology, even this, when I had a camera, I had to buy a camera with your iPhone. You can now create anything. If you're directing, direct your family, direct your friends, direct anything. I think that's the I've heard that. I think James Cameron said something like that. But honestly, it's not anything truer and not false. You have to start shooting, you have to start creating and tell your story because everyone has a story to tell, right?
Mm.
And when you want to do that, you need to basically do a story with purpose, right? And I think also think about what you're doing. I think a lot of the times, like you said, we're shooting for jump scares, we're shooting for this. I want everything I do, or say anything that you do and you want to put out in the world, make sure it has a purpose. It doesn't have to be something that's grandiose. It can mean something to you, but as long as it has a purpose to convey your message and your message comes across clear, I think, and that's just life advice too. So I just say,
I
if you're
agree.
in filmmaking, I say that's the same thing. As long as your message can be understood by anyone and anyone can relate to it, I think that's a great idea.
That's such a good idea for horror as well. You know, you can tell I am a horror fan. We have a Halloween
Yeah.
poster behind my head over
Oh
there.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
such a good idea. I mean, I feel I went to college and stuff like that, and you see people aspiring filmmakers, and I feel like the vast majority of them starting off, they want to just make a movie for the sake of making a movie.
Exactly.
There's no vision, what you spoke about. There's a purpose,
Right.
there's a message. It's worth
Right.
watching. It's has heart in it, you
Yeah.
know?
I
Yeah,
agree.
so I mean, it's interesting to hear that, and I'm excited to see your movie as well. How can
Yes.
we watch that? As in, like, will this be uploaded online or?
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do, I think December 8th is when they're going to announce the winners of the festival. Right now, I don't know if I told you this. Our trailer is up for top five, and then it may get best of the fest based on votes. So if you
Wow.
guys can send it
Yeah.
out, share it, that'd
All
be
right,
great.
people watching, come on, help them
Yeah,
out. So
yeah. Please vote for it, and you vote by like and leave a comment. And I appreciate that. I would say after December 8th, I probably will put it online and share it with the world,
like that.
and we'll go from.
So Chris, we're actually running out of time here
No worries.
on our
No worries.
Zoom call. But man, it was fantastic to get to talk to you
Yes,
and get to know you. You're a gentleman. You're one hell of a filmmaker from this, even from the looks of your trailer. You know what you're
yes,
doing. I'm excited to see the movie. I really am.
yeah.
December 8th, right?
Yes, December 8th is when we can release it. So I'll have it out probably after the 9th, but I'm
And
gonna
you were
put it
saying
online.
people need to help. People need to like and comment on this.
Yeah, so on this trailer,
Okay.
if they see the trailer, it's not on my site, but it's on the 48 Hour Film. Just like it and comment. Let them know you saw it and what you think of it. I'm keeping Emma a secret, but you know what? That's fine. I'm gonna blast it out probably tomorrow and just tell a poster and
That's
everything
cool,
like that.
man.
But
That's cool.
I love the support, and that's all I ask for is the support. And I think as Filmmaker Society, like you, thank you for the
Dude,
opportunity.
we'll
I think
support
we
you.
all.
We're gonna like and comment
Yeah,
a few
yeah.
hundred times for you. So don't
Oh,
forget.
I love it. Oh my Lord, I love it. I'm
Dude,
blessed
you're
to have
awesome.
you.
Okay, you're
Yes.
really
Thank
cool.
you.
I can't wait to see this movie. And man,
Yes.
thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
No
I
problem.
understand it's early morning over in San Diego. Huh? It's okay.
It's only 10:30. It's okay.
Okay.
10:30. It's okay. It's
Well,
not
anyway.
too bad. Thanks, Chris.
It's been a pleasure. Okay, fantastic
Yes.
getting to talk to you, and have a good day. All right.